quiz bowl.
There are only like 2 answers that I was surprised
So
at.
that was probably the
Like
best.
what? Tell us one.
Well, I can't tell you the answer yet, but it's,
Packer band.
what's something that people don't know about you? And there were 2 things.
Oh, there's probably 1,000 things we don't know
Yeah.
about.
Well, there's a lot you do know. There's a lot you do know.
There's a-
Like, what's his
everybody has-
favorite
yeah.
food? Okay, what's his favorite food? One thing.
Mint chocolate chip.
Yes.
Man.
Yes, that is a correct answer. So,
That was too easy.
That guy propped you up next to Carl's.
I was gonna say, well, Marissa makes pumpkin chocolate chip.
All right, so here we are. Sorry for the delay. I was trying to make things better and at least temporarily made them worse. We'll hope that's not the long run result. Does anybody who is not at morning mass know what happened 103 years ago today?
Sun came up.
That's correct. The sun came up, but that was not the answer I was looking for. Fulton Sheen was ordained a priest. So we'll start off by praying the prayer for his canonization. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, source of all holiness, you raise up within the church in every age men and women who serve with heroic love and dedication. You have blessed your church through the life and ministry of your faithful servant, Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen. He has written and spoken well of your divine Son, Jesus Christ, and was a true instrument of the Holy Spirit in touching the hearts of countless people. If it be in according to your will, for the honor and glory of the most holy Trinity, and for the salvation of souls, we ask you to move the church to proclaim him as saint. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Just got back. Bishop Lou was over in Rome for new bishop's school. They actually do have a training session. They had to postpone the last few because of COVID, so this is the first chance he's had to go. But he said while he was over there, he was going to try to stop by the congregation for, sorry, they renamed everything, the dicastery for the causes of saints, and just see what was up. He doesn't want to say too much because I think he doesn't want to get people's hopes up, and I don't either, but I think at the very least we are not at a dead halt anymore, so things could happen. So while he was there, he probably took a tour of the Vatican too. So let's take a tour of the Vatican. It all starts, why is the Vatican the Vatican? It starts with St. Peter. This is a very anachronistic picture of him, obviously. Good. What am I thinking? There we go. See this thing around his neck? That's called a pallium. And archbishops all wear one. This is obviously invented sometime after the life of St. Peter, but he wears when he's an archbishop. You can see he has in his hands the keys to the kingdom of heaven.
I think our Patrick statue has a pallium on too.
Yeah, same deal. Yeah. I still think it's anachronistic even for him. I didn't go research it. So the reason the Vatican is where it is St. Peter eventually came to Rome. And here we have a map of ancient Rome. This is not the map you have in front of you. Sites you might know. Stop that, Father. There we go. In ancient Rome. So like this is the Colosseum, and the Forum is in here, and stuff like that. So this is the 7 hills of Rome. If you ever heard of the 7 hills of Rome, they're on this side of the river. This is the Tiber River. Okay? But we want to zoom in a little more, and maybe even a little more. Yay!
That's much better to
Thank you,
see.
thank you.
Wow. That's good for the back row eyes.
So here we have on the far side of the river, Vatican Hill. Right next to it, although there's debate on exactly where this was because you can't get there to the remains of it anymore, this is the Circus of Gaius, which is the original name of Caligula, if you've ever heard of him. Not a good Roman emperor. There's a lot of competition for not good Roman emperors, but he was certainly not one of them. Over here, by the way, we'll get to it, is the Mausoleum of Hadrian, who's now known as the Castel Sant'Angelo. This is what a Roman circus looks like. This is actually the Circus Maximus, the great circus, reconstructed. Over here is the Colosseum. Here's the circus. You can see, you think circus, we think 3 rings. And actually what the way they did it back then is they had seating on the sides, and then this spine down the middle. If you've seen Ben-Hur in the chariot race, this is the kind of thing they ran it in. The Circus Maximus seated about 150,000 people, which puts it right up there with the big house in Michigan for all of you football fans. So it's a big thing. The Circus of Gaius, wait a second. So that, by the way, that's just what's left of the Circus Maximus. You can get a kind of idea what a massive thing it was. The Circus of Gaius was not as big. The Maximus means biggest. Who am I going to catch up on things here? Yeah. Okay.
Move the camera a little bit closer to the big screen? Or is that the problem? I'm looking, it looks kind of far away, it's hard to see.
Okay, yeah, I can actually, 'cause I don't need to get in front of it. I can get it closer.
I was trying to fill the video, and I can't tell because of the delay where we are. That's probably better.
Okay.
for
There we go.
the at-home viewers.
Okay. As long as the in-person viewers are not blocked too much by the camera where it is. In-person viewers, you're good? Okay. So it's a big thing. Rome has no subway system in the inner part of the city, because every time they dig, they hit something. But there are lots of ruins still exposed, and I'm not going to make up which those are. St. Peter, then, in the Circus of Caligula, you remember that line down the middle? It's called the spine for obvious reasons. He was crucified upside down, so if we ever upside down on the spine. After he died, as Mary Ellen reminded us last week, he was cut down. So they had to, his feet were nailed there and they had to leave him on the cross. I don't know if they were able to get his hands or what. And I'll back up a slide or two here. Backing up, there we go. Overshot. Special effects again. Over here was a cemetery. Only cemetery is not really the right word for it. Necropolis is actually the word they use, the city of the dead. Because we think of cemetery and we think you just go and there's a bunch of headstones. Well, got ahead of myself. This is an older idea of what it all looked like. So we have the Circus of Nero, which is also, it's called the Circus of a lot of people, depending on who you ask. Some people think that it was actually off at more of an angle. But St. Peter then was buried right across the street, right here. And the Romans had a thing about graveyards. That's why the Christians met in the catacombs. There wasn't as much, that's somewhat overblown, but the Romans really were, I'll say, superstitious even about disturbing graveyards. And so St. Peter could be buried there and he wouldn't be bothered. So when Constantine made the church legal, Constantine did not invent the fact that Jesus is God, by the way. Don't believe anything Dan Brown has ever told you. But he had a church, a big church, built up over the spot of St. Peter's tomb. You can see St. Peter's tomb here, and this is the dark lines are the old church. It had a big atrium, which is an outdoor thing outside. This is basilica style. We think of basilica as just a term, the basilica something. But this is actually an ancient Roman meeting hall, is all it is. Our church here is even a mini basilica. We're not big enough to need the posts on the side, but the idea that you have the thing in the center, and then a middle, and then maybe side aisles, that's basilica style. Constantine built this. Probably place of crucifixion right there, by the way. Constantine built it, and it lasted up until the 1400s, and they got behind on maintenance. Parish council, thank you guys. People get behind on maintenance. Because it was the point where they would have to sink a ton of money into repairing it or build a new fancy one. And they went with the new fancy one, and to help pay for it, that was where the alleged sale of indulgences, which wasn't quite that, but yes, indulgences were a fundraising scheme and it paid for the new St. Peter's. So the new St. Peter's, you see, these are the, I don't remember what the apses, there we go. So it's basically a cross extended shape, and where the center aisle meets the side aisles coming across, that's where St. Peter's tomb is. So the Vatican is there because that's where St. Peter is buried. The church actually was not run from the Vatican up until about the time they built it, up until the time of the Avignon Schism, which I would talk about someday, 1200, 1300, somewhere in there, the popes moved to Avignon in France because they were under the control of the French crown, and St. Catherine of Siena and others begged them to come back. But until that point, it was actually run out of the Lateran Palace. But guess what? While everyone was in exile, they didn't keep up on the maintenance of the Lateran Palace either. And so they moved, I think, back to the Vatican as a temporary measure, and just sort of never got around to moving back. So now when you see the church is run to the Vatican, if you're reading history books, and I've seen this happen, where they talk about the Vatican doing something in 1100, they're wrong. It's not the Vatican. The Holy See would be what they, I understand if they said the Lateran, no one would have a clue what they were talking about probably, but they need to say the Holy See, not the Vatican, because the church wasn't run from the Vatican until the 1500s. Okay.
The Lateran name, did that come from family?
Yes.
I don't know that story,
Yeah.
or do we need to
She
know,
has-
or it doesn't matter?
For this, she asked, did the Lateran come from a family? There, and yes, it does. Lateran is just the name of the family who gave the land that the church was built on. It's actually the Cathedral Church of Rome. St. Peter's is not the Cathedral Church of Rome. I talked about cathedrals last time where the Bishop's Cathedra is. And if you visit St. John Lateran, the tour guides will tell you that this is the cathedra of the popes, and they'll be right. And then they will go on to tell you that when a pope signs an ex cathedra document, he's sitting in the chair, which is not right. As I've said before, do not trust things tour guides tell you. They mean well, and sometimes they're right, and sometimes not so much. So this is the current church, and it is built up over the cemetery here. And here we have, we'll see a better picture of this in a few minutes, the big thing that's built up over the tomb of St. Peter. And below it, this, not all the way down here, but this next middle level here, this is the crypts, C-R-Y-P-T, and has a lot of tombs and such like in there. St. John Paul II was there until they moved him back up shortly before his canonization, so he's now up in the main part of the church. I haven't been there 20 years, so I don't have a picture of it. But so they built the church over the tombs, and over time people forgot what was down there. And everybody knew, well, skeptics said, no, it's not really the tomb of St. Peter, because skeptics will say anything. But by and large, everybody agreed St. Peter's buried down there somewhere. They just weren't clear on the exact details of how it worked. In the 1940s, actually during World War II, they were trying to lower the floor. I keep hitting the wrong button, that's what it is. They were trying to lower the floor of the crypt and started hitting the roofs of something. And so they did an archaeological excavation in the middle of World War II and continuing thereafter, trying to find out what was actually under there. What they found then is, this is a plan of all of these necropolis. They're actually these mini houses, is what they look like when you walk by them. And they have burial niches in them and such like. And they found this whole burial area, and toward the end of it is this, and this is where St. Peter is buried. This is what you see how this looks like little houses? These are, you're not allowed to take pictures. So this is straight off the internet, I think from the Vatican website or one of the associated ones. So if you look in each of those, there are decorations, which is why they don't want pictures taken, because the flashlight will degrade the pigment in a hurry, and already they have problems. They have to keep, it's all temperature controlled and humidity controlled down there. But you walk along this and walk along and turn a corner, and there are several rooms they have you stop and look into. When St. Peter was buried, they put him in, this was called a tropion, I think is how you say it. So there's this red wall here, and this niche, and a sort of a worship area there. That red wall is this red wall. They had descriptions of what the tomb looked like, just nobody had seen it for at least centuries. They found it, excuse me, there. So you can see the layout here, the high altar, the present high altar of St. Peter's is all the way up there, straight over it. They had to build a couple times, new ones, new altars, going all the way down to the floor of Constantine. The tropion there you see is what I showed you was that built out front in place. And St. Peter's grave is under all of that. And I'll show you the niche of the pallia later. You're saying, how do they know it was St. Peter's grave? Thank ancient Vandals. Well, I'm not sure Vandals is quite what I want, but there was a cement area nearby, and people being people, they carved their initials and names into it, but they also had the name of Peter on it a lot. There was they actually reuse each other's graffiti, and so it was driving people insane trying to figure it out, and finally someone figured out how to do it, and what she found was part of it that said, I keep hitting the wrong button, that's not what it said, that's what I said. P-E-T, and then it's probably an R, E-N-I. It says Peter is here, Peter is within. And so they kept on digging, and first of all they found a skeleton which turned out not to match right, but then they found a skeleton of a man of about the right shape and size and age, missing the feet, and the bones had been wrapped in purple cloth, which was not a typical thing. So you still find to this day people who claim that that wasn't St. Peter, that was someone else, and like I say, you can find people who will claim anything.
And what's the size of him appropriate, or I mean, you said appropriate size and.
I mean, it's what, do you remember, Mary Ellen?
He was a short, stocky man, so,
Is the bones of a short, stocky man of
Yeah.
50 or so?
I don't remember the
Yeah.
approximate age, but they said he was short and stocky and,
So they,
like Joe.
Yeah,
So-
I like Joe.
So,
Yeah. And so nowadays you can take that whole tour and you can go back and you can see all of it. You just can't take pictures. Right next to this, by the way, is the tomb of Pope Pius XII, who is very unfairly maligned for having been Hitler's pope when he was no such thing. That was quite literally a communist plot to tear down his name. So when I was there, I put money in there for his cause for canonization. I hope someday it happens. But the whole Vatican then is built up over that tomb that they found. In front of you, you have a map of the Vatican City. This is actually not courtesy, this is ColosseumRomeTickets.com. Everybody in Rome loves to sell you tickets to things. Unless you really know what you're doing, it's probably easier to just let your tour company take care of all of that for you. The guys who went to seminary over there and all that can figure it out. I'm not that smart. So what we were just looking at, keep hitting the wrong button. St. Peter's Basilica is right here, and so St. Peter's tomb is right here. Where St. Peter was crucified is right over here.
what's it labeled on here?
It's not.
Oh.
It's probably, it's between the Teutonic College and what's marked Sistine Chapel. So it's a little north of the Teutonic College. It's in this courtyard next to St. Peter's.
So is North really at the top of this map?
I think so. Because, by the way, we talked about churches facing east. St. Peter's faces west and always has. So the reason for that being that they were trying to build on that hill, and that was the architecturally easier way to do it. So they did it. Bam.
Teresa Doherty texted a question.
Yeah.
Is he using the word tomb the same as catacomb?
Catacomb, no. Catacombs contain tombs. Catacombs were, think of them as mines, although that's not what they're used for, but they're underground passages, and they have little niches in the side of them where people were buried or their ashes were put or whatever. So that's a separate category. Some of the popes are buried in catacombs. I have pictures of the catacombs, including one I was not supposed to take but did anyway. So I still kind of feel bad about that. But anyway, so where was I? Oh, okay. So this is St. Peter's. So this is the Vatican City. Here is Google Maps version of Vatican City. We can see, keep hitting the wrong button. It's a big happy button to hit, that's why. So here's St. Peter's itself. This is called St. Peter's Square, although it is not at all square. It's called the square anyway, just because. The Pope's residence is over here. These are the Vatican museums. The Pope doesn't actually live in the Pope's residence, by the way.
Where does he live?
We'll get there. Everybody up until Francis did. Francis, there was a big deal, oh, he wants to live, the Pope's apartments are too rich and luxurious for him. They're not. He just wanted to live where other people were. He didn't want to be cut off from everybody else. So I'll show you that in a bit. These are all the Vatican gardens back here. Pope Benedict lives right up there. There's all kinds of offices in through here.
What's that called where he lives?
We'll get there.
Oh,
And there's actually a helipad back here and a train station here. These are the administrative offices for the whole place.
Is the Academy of Sciences like a big library or?
Lost my train of thought. Oh, technically, the Vatican City is a nation in its own right, and the Pope is its absolute ruler. In reality, it is still a nation in its own right, but the Pope has much, much better things to do than run it, so he appoints a board to take care of it. He issues the laws, and they're issued under his name with his approval at least. But what happened was, over time, the Pope acquired control over a whole big chunk of Italy and drew the church perhaps into more power politics than was particularly good for it. Although Pope Pius X said I'm not supposed to say that, so you didn't hear me say that. But over time, especially when Italy was trying to, Italy used to be a bunch of small city-states, and in the course of unification, the Pope lost almost all of that. At one point, bring us up to Pope Pius X, they were down in the Vatican City, and he absolutely refused to leave until he got his land back. And nobody left until Mussolini obviously did many bad things, but he and the Vatican signed an agreement recognizing the Vatican as an independent city, giving the church control over some of the sites, and at that point, the Pope was no longer a prisoner of the Vatican. So this whole idea we have of popes going on world tours and all of that couldn't happen until after World War II. I have pictures of the walls later on, but you can see in Google Maps here, it's got walls going around it. Because of that, all of the battling going on, it was a fortified city. It didn't always work, but that was the idea. So this is St. Peter's Square, courtesy Google Earth. I don't know how people did presentations before they invented Google. Right across, I'm going to switch to red pointing mode here. Yeah, okay. So here we go, here's my red pointer. And this white line across here, where they have the fences up, that's the boundary between Italy and the Vatican City. I was talking last time about the movie The Scarlet and the Black. And at one point the Nazis occupied Rome, and there was a priest that they hated and wanted him shot on sight, but they couldn't shoot him inside the Vatican. And just to taunt them, he would walk along the line and wave his foot back and forth, but never step over it. And we'll talk about the other stuff in here in a bit, but that's the outside of it. Here's a much younger Father Horton, actually in St. Peter's Square. Not yet Father Horton. That dates from 2001, so that's 21 years ago.
That's you?
That's me.
Wow. That was fast. A lot more hair.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's me. That might not be me. That might not, come think of it, that might not be me. That might be someone else, because I have the short hair. Okay, good, that's not me. Yay! I'll have to ask friends for pictures of me. But anyway, this is my own picture of...
That's you.
That's not me either. That's my picture of Pope St. John Paul II, and that was one of the hold your camera up over the crowd and hope it worked pictures.
Wow.
And it turned out well. I've actually saw Pope John Paul II twice. Once here, and once we'll get to the audience hall in a bit. So when he was canonized, I was just, someone's canonized, and I actually saw him. So that was great. That's the legendary Pope Mobile. Here's another picture of him. The whole place is surrounded by what's called, Bernini was one of the great Italian architects. So he designed it, and the idea is these are welcoming arms going around it. And you see, if you look at it, you see only one pillar. If you stand in the right place, it works that way. There's actually multiple pillars in line, like that.
Can you go back to that other
I
picture?
can.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, it does look okay.
These are my pictures, by the way, so I can be inordinately proud of them. This is not my picture. This is the spot on the pavement where John Paul II was shot. It's 13/5 is May 13th of 1981. In the middle of, and I do mean the middle of St. Peter's circular square, is this obelisk, which is, anytime you have that big pointy, Washington Monument is an obelisk. This was, I believe, originally brought from Egypt, and it used to stand by the side of St. Peter's, where the circus was. That obelisk saw St. Peter crucified. Sometime, actually, I think it was the 15 or 1600s, the Pope decided that we're going to put it right in front. And so they moved it. Everybody said, you can't move it, it'll break. They moved it, it worked. On top, it has a relic of the true cross, and I think something else is up there too. So that is just the sign, world, you thought you could beat us. No, you can't. This is a Wikipedia picture, I think. A lot of these are. Before we go into St. Peter's, I will show you the most unfortunate architectural act of the part of the entire Vatican City. Mary Ellen agrees with me, I'm sure. This is the Pope Paul VI audience hall. Recently, it was covered with, where's my little light? There we go. With solar panels. It actually didn't make it look any worse. It didn't look any good before either. Here's the inside of it. Just not much atmosphere to it. And when you need a big space for a lot of people, I get some of it. The thing was, Pope Paul VI wanted to be what the Catholic Church has always been, a supporter of the arts. And so he supported what the trends were in architecture at the time, as well as this extremely ugly statue.
Ew, what is it?
It's Jesus rising.
Ew.
Jesus rising from the ashes of nuclear war, if you actually want to know. It is just,
Hideous.
yes, it is hideous.
Where is that?
This is right. This is the front
Inside
stage, in the front Paul VI audience hall.
Oh, that's too bad. He's
Yeah.
right.
So that's right there is Pope Francis, front and center. See, the Swiss guards are standing there with their nice pikes. The semi-automatic weapons are sitting right behind the chairs.
Really?
That was a John Paul II statement. He said, I do not want the modern armaments visible. And the Swiss guards said, okay, but we still got to have them. So, Pope Paul was canonized. He was trying to do the right thing. I've never been sure whether he just had no taste or whether he let them persuade him this was the way to go. So still, I got to see John Paul II in there, so I have happy memories of the place. I just try not to think of that statue too much. This is what the old St. Peter's more or less looked like. There aren't a whole lot of contemporary pictures of it, and they're old style art, not done with perspective and such like that. So they tried to put together what they've been told about it, what it looked like. Here is the.
This is Constantine's.
This was what's known as Constantine's Basilica. Yes, thank you. So here's that front courtyard, and here's the main part of the church, and St. Peter is buried all the way back here. Here's the side courtyard where he was crucified. There's the obelisk in its old spot. So that gives you an idea where he actually was crucified.
What year was the new one built? Or years?
1500 somewhere. Say, paying for it touched off the Reformation, so that gives you a time frame. Michelangelo worked on it. In fact, the dome that we'll get to was designed by Michelangelo. Has that one definitely is me, by the way.
Can you zoom that one?
No.
From back here, I can't really tell. Maybe the front row people.
Actually, that one might have been me because I
you
had
was.
a pretty decent head of hair working there. So.
That one looks more like.
Does it?
Yeah.
that does.
The cap there, by the way, is a
Short,
Cardinals
yeah.
cap. I just want to point that out. There are pictures of me all over Europe carrying a St. Louis Cardinals baseball cap. Sometimes wearing it. This is, I believe, what's called the Holy Door. And this only gets opened during years of Jubilee. And when they're done with the year of Jubilee, they close it all up. It used to be every 100 years, and they went to 15 every 25, and now it's sort of whenever they feel like it. And it's just, Jubilees are just reasons. They had a big one in 2000. It's just everybody comes to Rome. There are extra indulgences that go with it, and all kinds of stuff like that. So this is me.
Wait for the door to open.
wait for the door to open, 21 years ago, carrying a Cardinals cap. Also apparently carrying purchases from somewhere. Inside St. Peter's. I am very happy to say this is my picture.
Very cool.
I have when I get it scanned in of the roof of it. It's just everywhere you look, there's something to look at. I could be here all night just talking about St. Peter's, but I decided not to do that. The lights coming in from the dome and sunlight and all that. It's a magnificent, magnificent sight to see. The first time I went there, I was with the Holy Trinity Choir, and it was during summer, and the place was jammed. Although we had mass there very early in the morning, and so there weren't as many people. I think that's actually that's early morning sunlight coming through it. That can't be, it's the wrong direction. Anyway, because that's west, and that's sunlight going down. The sunset's in the west, right? Okay.
Yes.
You can see in here, come on over, there we go. This is the Baldacchino. It was designed by Bernini, and this is where St. Peter's tomb is right down there. Well, not right down there, but below all of that. There are side chapels off to the sides, oddly enough. One of those side chapels has Michelangelo's Pieta statue, which a crazy guy damaged during 1972 or 1972. He went up there with a hammer and started hammering at it.
Broke his nose off. didn't
Broke
he?
his up. Mary's nose is actually taken, they had to take a piece out of her back and put her nose on it. And put that on her for her nose. So it's restored. I told you guys the sad story of one of our Central Catholic students. Our history teacher was doing a series on, or having them all do reports on great pieces of art, and he put that up and asked the student, what is that? He said, well, that's a lady holding a naked dead guy.
Oh, no.
Well, you're not wrong. We have many, many good students. That just happened to be one of the lower points. It's behind bulletproof glass now, by the way, so no one's going to go mess with it. This is a closer look of the Baldacchino. The twisted columns, I think they actually got from a Roman temple somewhere. They certainly are copying an ancient design. And down here,
Not to
yeah,
interrupt you too much here, but that Pieta,
Pieta, yeah.
that was the great find of the monuments men when they brought it out of the,
Oh, yes.
Was it stored away during World War II?
yes.
Okay.
They found it, and that was their
Well,
big find.
it wasn't lost.
Well, the Nazis knew where it
Right.
was.
No, it was a different one of Mary.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one has been, they might have taken it down into the crypt to keep it
Okay,
safe,
what?
but it has been there all along.
Yeah.
It looked like
She was
it.
holding a baby, I think, in the one, in
Was
the
it?
movie.
Well, I'm mistaken, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
okay.
took a lot of the artworks in the basement during World War II.
Yeah.
And what's the name of this tall thing?
Baldacchino,
How do you spell that?
T-H-A-T.
Yeah,
What?
honey. How do you spell that?
B-A-L-D-I-C-H-I-N-O. And you can see them in other churches. If you've been to the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, it is one of those too. It's not unique. It's big, and that's the high altar behind it, which I don't know if it ever gets used anymore. But it's an altar covering. Behind the Baldacchino, you can see this is that. It's a giant alabaster dove. One of my favorite humorous moments is I was browsing, back when Walmart actually sold CDs, I was browsing through them, and I found a Protestant praise and worship album with that on the cover. I'm like, I'll bet they just found them and no clue where it came from. Not all Protestants would have a problem with that at all, but if that were my target market, I would not deliberately put something Catholic on the cover. So anyway, the Catholic Church is for the birds. We have lots and lots of birds in our symbols. The pelican is not the only one. Here we have the dove too. See if I have any texts I need to respond to, by the way. Nope, okay. Here is the upper legs of the Baldacchino are up here. So this is a rail around it, And down here is where the actual tomb of St. Peter is. Generally speaking, you're not allowed down there. I do have a little closer picture of it. But when archbishops receive their pallium, remember the thing that St. Peter has on? Before they get them, the night before, they are taken down and laid over St. Peter's tomb. If you say why, because we've always done it that way. Always done it that way for centuries. This is someone, they don't know how to take pictures through glass. You have to get your lens all the way up to the glass to get it to work right. But that's the niche of the pallium, and then the tomb itself is right down in there.
So that's not an altar, that's just.
The altar is farther in back of it,
Okay.
yeah. And this is the actual entrance into the tomb from the underground necropolis. That's a tomb of St. Peter the Apostle, is what that says in Latin. Sepulcher of St. Peter the Apostle, if you want to look at it. We'll go back upstairs. You can see the roof, the ceiling off to the right there. I believe that's all gold. And it has multiple domes, all decorated.
Is that part of that baldacchino? That
No,
dome?
no,
No.
no. The baldacchino, that dome I think is off to the sides. There is a big dome right over the baldacchino.
Oh, okay.
That's my picture of the baldacchino. The lettering to give you now without one faith. There's writing around the top. I don't remember all of it is. Part of it is, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." Yeah. So, here we go. "You are Peter, Petrus et super hanc Petrum edificando my church." This is around the main dome of St. Peter's. Just in case anybody misses the point. This is the floor plan. I think that's the floor plan. That's the floor plan of the crypt, actually. Turn your head sideways if you want north to be at the top. So St. Peter's tomb is here. Pius XII is here. These are all old Roman tombs. There are some other Christian burials up in here. People who wanted to be buried near Peter. That's another reason they knew they had the right spot. They could see Christian imagery increased up through there. The usual entrance is over through here. And the current St. Peter's is actually built on the foundations of the original St. Peter's, a lot of it. So as you're going through, you can actually reach out and touch 1700-year-old foundations. And it probably yells you to touch the tombs, but you could do that too. Pam?
But you can only see this if you sign up way ahead of time for a
Yeah, you have to sign up, and you have to get tickets for it. They say, I was reading on the website as I was putting this together, if you ask less than 30 days ahead of time, good luck. And it's more 60 to 90 if you want it.
And I
If
think
you are
your
really
bishop
into,
has to approve
Sorry?
it. Didn't the bishop have to approve it? They send a letter
I don't know about that. That might have been at one point. She asked if the bishop has to
to
approve
your
it.
own bishop?
to your bishop.
Because I don't, yeah, I've been there, it was with our choir pilgrimage group, and I don't know if we got a letter from the bishop or not. Anyway, I'm not a Roman tour guide, which means number one, you can believe what I tell you, and number two, I don't know all the details, so.
You would tell him you want to go there.
Yeah.
Yes, you would send a letter.
Sorry, my mistake, that was not the necropolis, that's the crypt, that's the lower level of St. Peter's. And so, just in case you're wondering, here is everybody who is buried down there, plus a few others.
Wow.
I'm trying to see if there's anything really, because there's some ones you might not expect. The Confessio Pallium niche, I talked about that. Confessio is the other name for the place with the palliums, and people get them. Pius VI, several chapels, tomb of Pius XI, tomb of John Paul II was moved. Mary del Val, fascinating guy. Queen Christina of Sweden was Catholic and was kicked out of Sweden when it went Protestant, so she's buried in St. Peter's. Tomb of the Stuarts, who were the royalty of England until some of them defected and became Protestant. So anyway, that's the tomb of the good parts of them. Trying to see if anything else is really exciting there. Ludwig Koss, number 57, was in charge of the excavations of St. Peter's tomb for a long time, so that's probably how he got to be buried down there. There are 2 remaining columns of the old basilica. So lots of things to see down there. This is the Dome of St. Peter's, designed by Michelangelo. And for a suitable fee, which is actually not that much, you can go to the top of it. You take an elevator to the flat part of the roof of St. Peter's, and you can look out. These are all the statues that go along the front of it. And there's the best gift shop I found in Rome is on the roof of St. Peter's, by the way. It had the fewest kitschy things and the most nice things. I think they figured if you made it that far, you deserve the good stuff.
And how many statues are at the top, or what?
No clue.
Who do they designate?
I don't.
More
There's
than just 12?
there's some of their apostles, saints, whoever.
Does it have a name by them? Probably not.
No, you have to know.
You have to know, sure.
Is that me dinging?
I don't,
No. Okay. Oh, I don't have power. That might be what it's mad about.
Another chords.
Happy now? Yes. There we go.
live stream's okay.
Yeah. No, it's just the power of the computer would run out eventually.
Okay.
And just from the roof, you can always look out and see a lot of things. That's the Pius VI audience hall over there on the right. Then the dome has a circular base, obviously, and there's a door in it. I'm afraid of heights, but I'm in Rome. I'm going to go up to the top. And so it starts out, and it's just a circular staircase, and that actually takes you up partway inside of St. Peter's itself. And then you enter the dome part, and the staircase starts tilting and tilting, and when you get to the very middle, it's now just a spiral staircase with no handrail, just a rope.
Oh my.
Yikes.
But I made it. The lighting was totally messed up on the picture, but that is me. I made it to the top of the dome. Note that I'm nowhere near the rail. There's a reason for that.
Wow.
And that's, I think I'm supposed to get a picture of somebody, but you can see the beautiful view
Wow.
from up there. So after you can also know I'm nowhere near the rail. So after I've been up there long enough, I decided it's time to come down, and so I worked my way back down the spiral staircases and the bendy staircases and all that. And to get to the door on the roof, and it's only this high, and I banged my head on the lintel coming out. If there's a lesson in there, I don't know what it is. Also visible here then that's the Tiber River right there, the main river that flows through Rome. So all the good parts of the city are over here, and here we are in what used to be the slummy part of the city. Which is why the Romans didn't like putting graves in the city itself. That whole superstition thing again. And this is the Vatican Gardens. There's not a whole lot to say about them. There are all kinds of various monuments in them. That's St. Peter's. They're very pleasant to visit. There are statues of Mary. Wikipedia says Pope Francis opened it to people in 2019. Well, somebody opened it before them because I went through them in 2001. Someone said, where does Pope Benedict live? See if Mater Ecclesia Monastery is on your map there somewhere. It's toward the center part. It might.
I don't see
Yeah,
it.
it's right where the Vatican Radio Administration, extending out from that, is the Mater Ecclesia Monastery. Yeah, because you can see the satellite dish behind it.
Where, if you have to point, I can't see it from back here. Where is it?
Satellite dish.
Oh.
So that's the radio station, and this is the monastery. It's had various groups live in it. Right now, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI is the only one who, well, and the religious sisters who take care of him, but it's not functioning as a convent at the moment. It's where he retired to. When he dies, I don't know what they're planning to do with it. You can see more of the gardens and the various statues and fountains and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe that's not what, maybe I'm not searching
What's not showing up?
Oh, how many statues there are in Vatican?
Yeah.
It says something about 140, but they can't be just the ones on the top.
It can, there's a lot, by the time it goes all the way around the colonnade. All the way around those big
Oh, not
ringing
just
arms.
in the front, they
Not just
go
the front,
all
all the way
around the
around. I believe
arms or
140 could well be the right number. This is the Domus Sanctae Marthae, the House of Holy Martha, and this is where Pope Francis lives.
Is that not St. Martha's Chapel?
Yep, that's it.
Oh,
Okay.
because that is on our map.
St. Martha's Palace, is what it
Oh.
says.
This is Chapel. Where?
St. Martha's
Oh, way
Palace
at the
is at the
bottom.
bottom.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where Pope Francis lives?
That's where Pope Francis lives. It was built, among other things, to provide a place for cardinals to live during papal elections. After he was elected, he just went back to his room. And eventually, I think the Swiss Guard insisted, you can't just stay here, Holy Father, we have to at least be able to cordon off the floor for you. So he has a whole floor of it. He still uses the papal offices that are over, I hope I have a picture of him somewhere. He still uses the papal offices, and like when he gives his Angelus blessing, he is doing it from the windows of the papal apartments. As I mentioned earlier, the papal apartments are not that luxurious. They used to be. Part of the area around them is just covered with all these brilliant Italian Renaissance paintings, but they don't use that anymore. It's actually part of the Vatican Museum, so you can go and see them. I don't know about you, but I need something pumpkin in a minute. Pam?
Does he just walk to all these places, or they scooter him around, or golf cart him around?
It's right now, I'm sure they have to be moving him because he's in a wheelchair most of the time. He's got hip problems. And JP2, they had to wheel around too. But JP2 lives in the palace, so they didn't have to move him as far. Okay, break time.
Shrimpy. Get it off.
are you from?
I'm from the Clinton area, but I was confirmed up in Chicago. My,
What area?
where was I?
I was yours. Of that.
One of the
The
seven.
rest was this
All
morning were
whatever.
stuffing.
In the front of that, is that something like?
Those are really cool.
Down?
The red ones.
One of my, I like the picture.
The red vest.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
The martyr ones, yeah.
Red is my favorite vestment cover. They just look the best.
It's kind of hard to say because
St. Mary's Church up
the
there.
Vatican was designed to look small.
Confirmed at St. John Canton.
Well, look, I mean, look at you.
So I'm right in.
Yeah.
Did I ask you last time how many
It was designed. to
square
look
footage
much
or
smaller than it is.
miles or
And then-
that the
Well,
Vatican
if
City
it
is?
a picture
No, but I can find out real quick.
Like, of the outside of the columns. If you look at it, it doesn't look that big. I mean, it's big, obviously, but.
I mean, a big open area, whatever you call
But then
that.
if you
St.
look
Peter's
at the
Square.
pit people,
Oh.
and then you
How
go
small they are.
121
Yeah.
acres.
121 acres?
Yep.
But,
It's the entire
so I'm gonna
Yeah.
say, 30 feet, it comes out 30 feet where the stairs are that go down the bridge. That's not how.
It's 2/10 of a square mile, if that helps.
For special.
I know what 128.
Yeah.
That's not enough to make a living.
Yeah.
Plus with the Vatican, isn't it?
Did you see that they laid a pallium on the St. Peter's grave or whatever?
They've got their own currency, haven't they?
I think they're in the Eurozone.
Oh,
They do have their own stamps.
Either one.
Do you,
Yeah, they're on the they're Eurozone.
I didn't either, but I understand it was very, very.
The city of Rome and the Italy do a lot of the actual
What was?
country work for them.
oh.
There wasn't a big hoopla about her.
Is there customs to go through to get in and out?
Yeah,
No,
so.
Hey, everyone,
What's the
10
population?
Hill. Ken 2 Hill says to
453.
tell everyone hi.
Hi.
Hi from Ken 2 Hill, so if you tell him on the
I
video.
can.
Sorry to
Tell him
interrupt.
he's missing cake.
Yeah, maybe we should put the camera over there.
Yeah.
Hi, Ken. We miss you. Just wanted to let you know. And you're missing some really good food.
And say hi to Teresa too.
Oh, hi, Teresa.
Probably hi Shelley too.
Say hi to Shelley from Bloomington.
Hi, Shelly. Hi, everyone else who might be there.
Hi my mom if you're watching.
Hi, my mom. It says 3 are watching, so it's Ken and Teresa and maybe Shelley.
I think mom might watch it later sometimes.
Michelle, that was a nice little, I just watched it because it's delayed. But you can back it up. I think you'll pop on there in a second. Pretty sure. You went too far. Yeah, that was a nice wave.
It's always amazing how
Teresa Doherty said hi back.
that
That was nice.
city
Yeah, when we were watching from home, I was hoping people would pop in the camera. There you are, Michelle.
There were a few moms.
Oh, you just left.
Those were like the two things I just really wanted to see.
There you are, Michelle. Oh, there you are. Just pop it in there.
We were only
There you are.
going places.
In Florence.
It's around a minute, or an hour 20.
We started out
So if you want to find you,
in
that's really nice.
Paris.
Because we never
So,
saw
and
anybody
we
when we
then-
were at home watching either.
Some went to
Someone
Auschwitz
in front of the camera.
and four of us went to Florence. So we did a tour.
Oh.
We were only there,
Get along with it.
2 days. And
Okay.
then we all met back in Milan and then we flew back to Paris. and-
Diane watches some of them several.
So yeah, it was a
She'll tell me
constant.
A quick, yeah,
That's funny.
but awesome.
Yeah.
You didn't try it? It's pumpkin-y. Pumpkin's very pumpkin-y.
The white people come toward.
Right.
Hill's question is, do they grow pumpkins in the Vatican gardens?
Not as far as I know.
You need to tell the camera.
As far as I know, pumpkins are not grown in the Vatican gardens.
What's grown in the Vatican garden?
Flowers,
Not a vegetable
trees.
garden?
It's not a vegetable garden.
It would be cool if they had seeds from all over the world. It was like, you know, international.
Right, the international garden.
Yeah.
2 of each.
Joe said they need to have a big zoo with 2 of each animal. Not Noah's Ark,
Extra tigers.
extra tigers.
Do we know if Mussolini was Catholic? Hard to say.
Definitely not a good one.
No, that's for sure.
Have you seen the movie Sea with Mussolini?
No,
That's a good one.
no.
Father, I should have added to the questionnaire your favorite animal. That didn't make it. Maybe next year we'll come up with a new set of questions.
So what's your favorite animal?
Is it a lion or a tiger?
Tigers.
Which, any
Oh,
certain
yeah.
kind of tiger?
Tigers.
Just tigers in general.
Should have known that.
Like a cat.
Siberian tigers are the biggest.
Are they white?
No.
Did you see where the cat, a cougar they thought was loose up in El Paso was really a house cat?
You're kidding. You're kidding. Oh my gosh.
Overfed.
They put a picture on it, internet. That
Yeah, I
they,
don't believe that.
Fake news.
They took people took a picture of it, and I guess your perspective can be off when you're looking
Oh.
far away, and it
Oh
looked
my
bigger.
gosh,
But
no, I
they
didn't hear
went
that.
out and measured the size of the cat to the tree, and it's like, that's a house cat.
Oh my gosh.
A big house cat.
Yeah.
He was baptized but doesn't appear to have ever done much about it.
Baptized Catholic?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So is Hitler.
Really?
Was he?
Really, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, Mussolini.
All right. So on that happy note, we can proceed. This is the doorway to the papal apartments, also known as the Bronze Door. It's off to one side of St. Peter's Circular Square. And this is copied and pasted from Wikipedia. Yeah, sorry,
Are
Michelle.
those all rivets? Or are any of them holes?
Oops. What did I do?
Sorry, it's my fault.
Just trying to go backwards.
Crash and burn.
There we go. I don't know what I did, but I got it back. This is copied and pasted right out of Wikipedia. I tried to find actual pictures of the papal apartments and I couldn't, but it's 10 rooms, it's got a vestibule, small studio office for the secretary, a private study, a bedroom, medical suite, dining room, small living room, and a kitchen. So it's not like this is, you know, penthouse luxury, New York or something.
So what, if you need surgery, they just do it there? They-
That's for emergency surgery. There's actually, Gemelli, what I'm trying to think of, there's a hospital that they take, like when John Paul II was shot, they didn't fix him there, they took him to another hospital. Can't remember the name of it. And it's from the window of the study when the Pope does his blessings on Sundays, and Pope Francis still must go up there for that. Like I said, he, or maybe didn't say, but I meant to say, he still uses the office. He just doesn't live there.
What's the population of Vatican City?
453, according to
It's a little
Wikipedia.
smaller than Wapella.
Yeah,
Wow.
because really, I think the Swiss Guard barracks are in there, and the Pope and some sisters, and that's about it.
Oh, is
Maybe
that
some of the
right?
high-ranking officials live there too. Most of the people who actually work there live in Rome or somewhere nearby and come in during the day.
So that doesn't really count regular people, that's just, like you said,
Yeah. I mentioned the Vatican walls. The top is, this is I think it's once a month, the Vatican museums have free admission. And so people line up for that, and you can see the walls, and then it's courtesy Google Earth again. Here we have a better picture of the outside walls of the Vatican.
So the walls are pretty tall.
Yeah, although you can see the,
Cars are tiny, yeah.
yeah, although you can see the grass sloping up, so they're not always all that tall. And I talked about the pine cone last time. So this is the pine cone. If you look on your maps, right toward the top where it says Vatican Museums, there's the courtyard in the middle, it says Pinga. Pinga is Italian for pine cone. So that's where the pine cone is.
Oh, you see it?
Yes, right here.
Oh, Pinga.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it is enormous. Some of our non-Catholic brothers and sisters accuse it of being a pagan worship item. It was actually made specifically to be part of the Vatican decorations. It has nothing to do with pagan worship. It was a fountain for a while, and I guess they stopped using it.
I mean, there wasn't hundreds of people around there down on their knees?
She was asking, what do you mean there aren't hundreds of people around there down on their knees? I photoshopped them out. So you can't see them. Sistine Chapel. Let's see if this works. Famous last words, I know. There's my mouse. We're going to have to drag the window over here. I don't try things ahead of time because that's just no fun. Here we go. So the Vatican very helpfully offers a virtual tour of the Sistine Chapel.
Can you make that full screen?
I'm doing that.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I think I can make it even bigger.
That's even bigger.
Voila.
Oh, that's
Nice.
nice. Okay, cool.
What people never point out, but I actually found fascinating too, even the floor itself
Yes.
is so intricately and richly decorated.
What is that on the ceiling? I can't tell what the pictures on the second row.
Let's just look up and see.
Oh, isn't that pretty?
Yeah, just they finished in Decatur, I think last month, some very high quality reproductions of it that you can actually see much better there than you can in person. 20 or so years ago, they did a restoration of this. The ceiling, at least, was painted by Michelangelo. Some of the side ones were painted by still very good, but not quite as big name painters. But over 400 years of use, and all those incense and candles and stuff like that, they've gotten really grungy. And so they very carefully restored them. Actually, I didn't know this until I saw the exhibition in Decatur. There's actually a small patch on each of them that's left unrestored, just for, I don't know if they can see how it was, or conservative purpose, conservation purposes, or whatever.
Decatur, Illinois.
Decatur, Illinois, yeah.
Which church? Oh,
It was at the
Church
Civic
of
Center, which really surprised me. But so let's see, I can move forward. Stop loading. There we go. Keep loading. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like doing a tour.
Yeah. So the entrance from the Vatican Museums is back here. No, actually, that's right. That's the exit to the rest of the Vatican Museum. We actually come in is next this door that we might get to up here with the high altar. If I scroll down, it has a copyright symbol, so we know where this came from. That is not actually in the middle of the floor.
The floor is so cool.
It looked like an armoire or something on the right. It's kind of,
I'm sorry, Pam?
right, yeah, keep going. That,
What
it
is
looks
that
like an armoire, kind of, that,
I think it's an organ.
Joe said he thought that was the Narnia closet.
Yeah, no, it's a very small. It's a very small organ because you can see the
Wrong country.
you can see the pedals down here, and that would be the keyboard.
Okay.
It says I can look up, so let's look up.
you got to see them up close in Decatur, where
Yeah.
here they're so far away.
The
Probably
most,
not appropriate to put them before there. Which page are you on to look at this? Is it Wikipedia?
no, this is on the, actually Vatican Museum's website, I believe. Okay, that's the fall of man right there. You can see Adam and Eve being chased away. Where's the creation then? Creation is one of these. Oh, creation right here in the middle. That's the very famous one where God is reaching out to touch Adam's finger. Right up here. We might be able to get a better view of it if I scroll back down and take another step forward.
Jeannie was wondering how many years it took them to paint all those images.
If I gave you an answer, I'd be making it up.
I think
I know he did it, especially the ceiling, he did lying on his back, and he regretted ever agreeing to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'd have to be upside down to do all that.
Yeah.
Sounds scaffolding.
Yeah, it was up on scaffolding, obviously.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, though, when the Pope says, Michelangelo, I want you to paint the ceiling, you don't tell him no.
But it was quite scandalous at the time because there were so many naked people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to the naked people up there in a minute.
Okay.
Oh.
Boy, that sounded bad, didn't it?
But does it seem like they were more infatuated with naked people then than?
No, he was, if they were, it was after that. He was, it's true. Oh, here we go. This might give us a better view of the creation. Here we go.
Oh my. We'll get dizzy watching.
No. I think that's more or less the same view we had, isn't it? Maybe not quite as much. So anyway, the creation over here.
There's the creation.
Well, where did my cursor go?
Does it zoom more or no? That is zoom.
If I knew where a cursor was, I could try to zoom it.
16 that.
Right, you can't move
Yeah.
throughout.
There we go, there we go, there we go. There's my cursor. Let me see what happens if I hit the plus button. It zooms.
Oh.
That's much more helpful for the back row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I slide over this way a little? No, I get seasick if I try that. And so these are, like these are they're Old Testament prophets, and like that's Isaiah right there. Jonah, I love. Jonah has a big giant fish next to him. It doesn't look like a whale. It looks like it's a trout on steroids or something. Okay, how do I make this go back to where I was? Here we go, there's my down arrow.
Is that room typically like jam-packed with people?
The first time I ever saw it was with the Holy Trinity Choir in July, and it was dominated by people talking loudly and the guards going shh, shh, shh. And this is all solid stone or wood, so everything echoed, and I actually had to leave quickly. The second time I was there, it was in very early January, and it was very nice. But,
It's kind of cool to see it empty.
yeah.
Tour people talking in here.
It's all echoing.
Well, we never toured you, but I've been there twice.
Okay.
One time we.
So at over the altar here is Michelangelo's very famous Last Judgment mosaic. At one point, all of the naked people had clothes painted over them, so they did take that off, yeah.
They added the clothes later?
So I've heard, yeah. And Michelangelo is actually in here somewhere, and I can't remember where.
So he painted his own face or?
He painted his own
Something
face in
there,
here.
right?
He's in the paintings in a couple places, and I can't remember
It is the
where.
judgment though, isn't it?
This is the Last Judgment. Yeah, so these are the people rising up, and those are the people heading down.
Oh, Ken Toohill sent this little picture. It says, although history has long forgotten them, Lambini and Sons are generally credited with the Sistine Chapel floor.
Oh,
Lambini
cool.
and Sons.
Yeah, it is. It's just. I mean, you call me weird if you want, and obviously the Michelangelo stuff is impressive, but you can stand right there and look at the floor. Well, how do you do that and have it be hundreds of feet away? Not hundreds of feet, but 50 feet away. And that's the door that comes through the Vatican museums. For my next act, I will attempt to get the slideshow back. I have to close this guy down. This is at museia vaticani.va. So it's part of the Vatican website.
What's it called?
museivatiCni.va. And it's something on there that has virtual tours. The Vatican Museum.
Virtual tours.
Here we go.
It took him 5 years,
5 years to paint it.
343 figures on the ceiling.
The Vatican museums are very famous, but museums of the pictures of the contents of museums are just generally not that exciting. They have stuff all the way from the early Etruscans. The Etruscans were the people who lived in Italy before the people who became the Romans got there. So the Romans displaced them, so they have artifacts from back then. They have all kinds of art from ancient Roman times through, well, we have the ugly modern stuff, but we won't talk about that. But they also have some beautiful, Raphael paintings and such like that. So they are very well known, very well worth seeing, probably worth standing in line for. Yeah, go ahead.
There's one website that says that he portrayed himself as Saint Bartholomew's flayed skin.
That was it, thank you, yes.
I'm not sure it's right.
No, that's correct. He's also one of the he's also not prophet. Old Testament, when Judas cuts off the head of the guy, so there's a picture of them carrying the head, and the head is actually Michelangelo's head.
Judas.
Old Testament.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if he had self-image issues or what, but anyway. Last time I mentioned when I was talking about the Swiss Guards, in 1527. The allegedly Holy Roman Emperor Charles I invaded Rome, and most of the Swiss Guard was killed on the front steps of St. Peter's, while the Pope himself and an entourage escaped from, here we go, there's St. Peter's up here, all the way along this passageway to that. It's now known as the Castel Sant'Angelo. It is built as the mausoleum for the Roman Emperor Hadrian. And first time I came into Rome, before we even turned the corner to St. Peter's, I saw that, and I knew that from my high school Latin textbooks. That's Hadrian's tomb. First time, wow, we're in Rome. Saw it before self-Colosseum, any of that stuff.
He's one that walled off the Picts and the people in Scotland.
Hadrian's Wall, yes,
Yeah,
same emperor,
yeah.
same emperor, yep. So, here, Planko's out of, by Pinecone explanation, copied and pasted, this was off the Vatican website. See, not everything came from Wikipedia. First or second century, so it might have been for Christian use. It's 4 meters tall. If you're not good on meters, that's 12 feet. Used to be in the Campus Martius, but it was moved in the 8th century and moved again in the 1600s to where it is now.
Oh, I wondered about the peacocks too.
This is my own picture. This is Roman imperial art. There's a legend of, this is actually from the Trojan War, where this guy and his sons got eaten by a sea serpent. So,
What's the purpose of
it's part of the art in the museum. It's one of the things they found. So, I think that's it. Next week, we'll talk about confession and indulgences. I don't think either one is enough to be a topic in its own right, but I think add them together, they are enough.
It'll be online, John.
Oh, yeah, where am I gonna be?
Does the
Driving
Vatican
home.
City pay taxes?
Does Vatican City pay taxes? No, because they're an independent nation, so they don't pay anybody else. They,
They collect taxes.
there's no, what, on the 435 people?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if the shopkeepers have to pay, they probably have to pay rent on their stalls. They make money off the museum admissions and things like that, but the Holy See does not make a profit. Every year we have the Peter's Pence collection, and it is, I showed you guys last time all the stuff that people in Rome are doing. And yes, some of it is wasted, but that's, you get, any human organization has got waste in it. So anyway,
Is the Holy See the same as Vatican City?
the Holy See is technically, it's often, the Holy See technically refers to, it's sort of like the office of the president versus the White House. That makes sense? Not even the office building the president, holding the office of the president. The Holy See is the office held by the Pope.
Because when you look at population of Vatican City in 2022,
Mhm.
it says the current population of the Holy See is 805. So what does that include?
That might be carelessly slopping the terms together. It might be the number of people who have Vatican passports, which are very hard to come by. Vatican diplomats and the however many people actually live there are the only ones who get them.
Would the nuncios at all the different countries be in that total possibly?
That's
even
what
though they're not living there?
yeah, she's asking, do the nuncios, I'm sure the nuncios have Vatican passports. I don't know if they're counting them in the population or not.
What is a nuncio?
Nuncio is the Pope's ambassador to a given country.
Well,
And in addition to being the ambassador, he's sort of the point man for everybody dealing with Rome. So he's the Pope's man on the ground, and if there's a question, you usually take it to the nuncio first before you go straight to Rome.
where does our nuncio live?
DC. Up until the Reagan administration, the U.S., even though the Vatican is a country, the U.S. would not accept an ambassador. But Reagan said this is stupid and did it. Besides, he liked JP too. Pam.
I have to retract Ken's comment about Lambini and Sons. He said that was a Far Side joke. Sorry.
Okay.
That's such a
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And some people say it only took them 4 years to paint.
Yeah. Anyway,
So-
I don't. All I know is if it
Some
took,
say
whether it was
lower
4 or 5 years, if I spent 4 or 5 years trying to paint like that with paint landing on me the whole time, it would seem plenty
Oh
long.
my gosh, I don't know. Look at these guys.
Sistine Chapel is also where papal elections are held. In the olden days, they actually made them live there or live in nearby things. It was, you were in like wall, just like our dividers here between quarters, and it was 10 cardinals to a bathroom and stuff like that. So when they built that Domus Sancta Maria or Martha, it was a big step up for the cardinals not having to do that anymore. Do you ever hear about the time Joe Garagiola was on a touring baseball team after World War II going through Europe? And they got to meet the Pope? He said, Your Holiness, I too was once a cardinal.
Could said that by a lot of cardinals. St. Louis.
I'm just curious, what's the difference in the time from here to?
What's the difference between time? What was it? What was Queen's funeral?
7 hours?
So Queen's funeral was 6 or 7 hours, and Rome's another couple time zones, so 9 or 10, something like that.
I don't know. I always mix up with those daylight savings.
Yeah, I know. Rome has a generally milder climate because it's sitting there in the Mediterranean Sea, and it has the ocean to both moderate anything that gets really hot and really cold. It very rarely gets snow there. It can get warm there, although it is up somewhat in the hills, so that helps.
I know you don't like St. Peter's Square being a circle, but in Clinton, the square is also a circle.
Right.
Right, did you notice, so the first picture he showed of the drawing of
Oh,
the first one,
it
it was a
was more
square.
square.
Good point, good point. The point
Probably
was, the
started-
old St. Peter's, the square was actually a square.
Right.
So it probably just got that name. and-
Yeah. Actually, in Italian, it's Piazza San Pedro, which isn't a square at all, so it's just Englishism.
What is it?
Piazza, it's a piazza. Piazza is just an open area.
Meeting place, yeah.
Yeah.
So 400 people, how do they pay the streets, pay the bills, flush the toilets? Where does the revenue come from?
Revenue comes from, part of it comes from the museum admissions, and part of it comes from donations from Catholics around the world. Vatican has its own publishing arm, and so they probably get at least some revenues off of that too. Although none of their books look like anything that's going to be a bestseller. They also, went down to St. Louis a few years ago and saw a tour of art from the Vatican, and they probably license that too. You know, the Pieta was actually brought here for the New York World's Fair.
Really?
They had it triple packed and everything they could think of, and it had its own emergency locator beacon and life preserver and all that, so made it here and safe back, obviously.
So but some of the revenue has to come from like people who buy tickets to.
Right, yes.
Right.
Right, yes.
And
but-
that's 25,000 people a day.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh, there you
imagine?
go. Now you're talking some cash.
Yeah, that's a little cash.
Couple burgers, few beers?
I don't think there's any open dining areas open to the public for eating in the Vatican. But there are plenty, you saw it's in the middle of the city, there are plenty of people right around there who are more than willing to sell you, actually, if you look in the right places, good Italian food for not that much, so.
It doesn't cost to go to St. Peter's.
It does not cost to go in St. Peter's. It costs to go in the museums, it costs to go in the Scavi, but St. Peter's, and the audience, I know, at least you used to have to talk to your bishop to get audience tickets too.
Yeah, yeah.
Still true?
That is, I haven't been there
Yeah.
for a few years, so
Yeah.
I assume it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can't.
Especially
get
the
an
audience hall, because
without.
the audience hall is a very limited capacity. For papal audiences, the whole square, they have folding chairs they set up.
Well, you'd be right next to the Pope's living quarters.
Yeah.
So when are you gonna coordinate a
A
road
trip,
trip?
yeah.
Road trip.
Road trip.
Road trip.
And when you're at a papal audience, important tip, and this will sound mean, but it's true, never let a nun in front of you. Because there's no such thing as one nun. She has 5 sisters behind her, and they all go to every audience, and that's the only one you're gonna be at. So don't let them in front of you. Pam?
So I'm guessing when you're in St. Peter's Square, if he comes out of the window, I don't know how often he
Yeah.
goes to the window to.
Every Sunday,
bless
apparently.
things. I'm guessing when you're there, he must just look like the tiniest thing. It's
Yeah.
just so far, I mean, we see it on TV, so
Yeah.
it looks totally different than if you're there. I'm guessing it looks like a
Yeah.
super tiny far away speck.
Yeah, when he does the blessing from the window, I've never been there for that. But I would have to think, yeah, he's not, you might want to have your opera glasses with you or whatever. Anything else? Any questions from the text people?
Oh. Wait. Teresa Doherty, yep. Does Father think he would lead a tour to Rome?
Oh, that's two.
Oh, I do have 2 texts. Oh, Shelley says, hi, everyone. All right. No other
You
questions?
didn't answer Teresa's question.
Oh, that's right, it was Teresa's question. I'm sorry, I
Does
missed
Father
it.
think he would lead a tour to Rome?
I would not lead it. I would hire someone to do it, but I would happily go along and be the chaplain for it.
We heard it.
Hey? You're gonna have to, the key thing is just getting enough people interested to actually do it.
Joe was talking about some of the Pink Panther movies that were supposedly in the Vatican, portrayed the Pope.
Yeah.
He said that's probably not.
I nominate Mary Ellen to lead us.
I'm trying to back up now. Um,
10 companies.
Because I meant to have a picture of the papal apartment windows, and I'm not sure I got it.
Apartment window?
It's not in a hotel, that's in a convent. Or they can be mean if you're not in by 9 a.m.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
So when the
I'm
Pope,
thinking that's you, buddy.
I
I see the cardinal hat.
Yep,
There's
I'm
the
pretty sure it
cardinal hat,
is.
you're right.
Yep.
Tall enough
Is it
there.
really?
Right, so,
Oh,
if
he's sitting.
the
Yeah.
Pope's
Yeah.
windows might be one of these, I think, but I think it's this block in here that he's speaking from, so maybe not that far away.
Oh,
But you can see more of the statues going around the rim here.
right.
I think it's just the fact we've been on tour for a while, I hadn't had a chance to cut my hair. This is the era by which I had usually short hair.
So does he come out there at a certain time? every
Comes out
day?
at noon on Sundays.
At noon. So people know when he's coming out, so
Yeah.
they can.
Yep,
Probably already always packed, I suppose.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it is.
Huh.
And every Wednesday, when he's in, obviously both when he's in town, he also has what's called the general audience. If you have a private audience, that's when few people get to visit with the Pope. General audience is the whole crowd of people, and you don't get to ask him questions. And so he either has those out in St. Peter's Square or in the hideously ugly Paul VI audience hall. But those are on Wednesdays.
If we put a group together, you're gonna get us one of those private things?
No. That would be something you have to talk to the tour company about, but no, Pope Francis doesn't do that. Actually, JP2 used to allow priests to come in and concelebrate morning mass with him. Benedict XVI does not do that, and neither does Francis. The Swiss guards, whenever clergyman walks by, will snap to attention, and so some priests just like feign in their direction to see if they can get him to do it or not.
Just to get them to do it?
Yep.
They're not allowing, I understand now, they're not allowing masses at the side chapels and.
I'm not even, I'm trying to stay away from that. I don't know what the heck is going on, so.
Huh.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Thank you, people at home.